Hi, my name is Michael Andrew Zmokel. I am the author of Rethinking the Industrial Revolution, which came out in 2013 from Brill Publishers and 2014 in paperback from Haymarket Books. My book begins by citing words of warning from many authors who have argued that the Industrial Revolution is too big to be explained, something I immediately go on to challenge as a notion. The book has three parts. The first part is called The Transformation of England, and building on the work of Ellen Meiksins Wood and George Commonell and Robert Brenner, I talk about the way in which agrarian capitalism helped to lay the foundations for an industrial capitalism in the first industrial revolution in Britain. The focus is not on agriculture, which Wood and Commonell and Brenner talk about, agrarian capitalism. The focus is mainly on manufacturing. So the question is, how does manufacturing during this period also get transformed, which it does. And I argue that the conversion of manufacturing to capitalist industry in England was delayed relative to agriculture in part by the passage of the Statute of Artificers under Queen Elizabeth, or what was called Queen Betty's Law in 1563, which enshrined in statute law the rights and privileges of the guilds, which, among other things, set the terms of the labor process. At the same time, I do explore how England was able to defeat France and build its empire by drawing on its deep pockets of wealth due to the rising productivity of its capitalist system of agriculture, involving the triad of landlord, tenant farmer, and agrarian wage laborer. Part 2 of the book is called Such Machines as Cannot Err, focusing on technology. It's a quote from Josiah Wedgwood, the master potter, who was a pioneer in capitalist industrialization, not using machinery. I start with a short history of technology, arguing that we see in all civilizations some astonishing contributions to technology. But what's different about the Industrial Revolution is that we see a flurry of technologies which are geared towards increasing the productivity of labor in production. And that is not typical of technologies invented in, say, China or even France. This, I argue, can be explained by the way in which English manufacturing was being transformed in ways that allowed employers to seize control of the labor process and introduce innovations, including machinery, with the aim of achieving ever greater increases in productivity in the context of increasing market competition. Part 3 of the book is called Custom's Last Stand, and it takes us through the Napoleonic Wars down to the third and final Chartist petition of 1848. And here I introduce or build on my sort of key argument that, contrary to many arguments that the state played a passive role in the Industrial Revolution, meaning that it did not fund the Industrial Revolution, which is largely true, the state played a major role in suppressing the artisan-led resistance to the coming of capitalism. Artisans were resisting the extinguishing of the customary control over the labor process that they had enjoyed since time immemorial. And after the repeal of Queen Betty's Law in 1814, that struggle continued, and we got the drama of the Luddite and swing risings, as well as the Chartist movement, which must be seen as the conclusion of the multi-generational artisan struggle against the coming of industrial capitalism and the factory. And you know who won. In the end, we get something called the Mid-Victorian Compromise, where elements of the working class come to an agreement with their employers and sort of accept the new capitalist system and find ways of gaining status, no longer as sturdy independent artisans, but as well-paid members of the working class, working their way up the ranks. So if you find this interesting, please consider buying a copy of Rethinking the Industrial Revolution directly from my publisher, and to support Haymarket Books and Historical Materialism series. I'm a proud member of the HM Book Club. I pay $20 a month and receive boxes and boxes of books, now filling nearly 3 shelves in my office, from which I regularly pull titles to use for my research and in preparation for my classes. Please support the Historical Materialism Book Club Project, and independent radical publishing houses like Haymarket Books.